7 Tampa. Have you noticed there are no video screens at several local airports? So the choice not to air a message from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is not an issue, but find out why some airports are refusing to screen it in 5 minutes with WUSF 89.7 News. Also, home sales are slowing down. You'll get an update with Florida Matters live and local.
WUSF depends on contributions from people like you. And the family law firm of Harris, Hunt, and Durr, lawyers who listen and act, protecting each client, their family, and their financial future. Experienced trial lawyers, tough negotiators, collaborative divorce resolution. Harris, Hunt, and Durr, protection without destruction. Brandon Business Machines. Brandon Business Machines is a locally owned and operated office equipment dealer and IT support company. They've been serving the Tampa Bay area for 44 years with copier and computer sales and service. Online at bbmusa.com.
Drive around your neighbourhood in Tampa Bay and you'll probably see a few for sale signs posted in front yards. Now, those signs aren't going up or coming down as fast as they were a couple of years ago. I'm Matthew Petty, and coming up on Florida Matters Live and Local, what impact is a cooling real estate market having on Tampa? If you are trying to sell your home, what do you do if the offers aren't coming in? Call 813-755-6562 and tell us about your experience selling or trying to buy a home. And why is the school district spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep a book off library shelves? Hear how a legal fight over book bans is testing the boundaries of free speech in schools. Also, what's it like to live underwater? We'll do a deep dive with Joseph Deturi, who spent a record-breaking 100 days in an underwater habitat off the coast of Florida. All this and more on Florida Matters Live and Local. First, these headlines.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The U.S. Supreme Court is weighing arguments it heard today in a case that challenges the last major provision of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. This provision is intended to ensure minority voters don't get shut out when new congressional districts are being drawn up. Here's NPR's Nina Totenberg.
When the law was passed in 1965, there were just 12 minority House members. Today, there are 134 Black, Hispanic, and Asian American House members. That could change, however, if the court removes the guardrails to redistricting that it endorsed as recently as 2 years ago. Indeed, if the conservative court majority either nullifies the redistricting provision of the law or makes it much more difficult to enforce, Democrats could lose as many as 19 congressional seats, putting control of the House effectively out of reach for the foreseeable future. Nina Totenberg, NPR News, Washington.
About 30,000 nurses and other frontline medical personnel are on strike against Kaiser Permanente, one of the country's largest not-for-profit health networks. Unionized employees in California, Oregon, and Hawaii hit the picket lines yesterday to demand a 25% pay hike. Kaiser Permanente is proposing a 21.5% hike over 4 years. The company says during this week's strike, some elective surgeries and procedures will be rescheduled, but health clinics and hospitals will remain open. Israeli hostages and Palestinian detainees freed in the Gaza ceasefire deal this week are sharing details about their treatment while they were held. NPR's Daniel Estrin reports from Tel Aviv.
Israeli medical staff say freed hostages are in better health than expected. One suffered an eye injury. Some said they were starved and shackled. Former hostage Yair Horn saw his brother freed now and thanked President Trump.
Thanks to you, I'm standing here today. And thanks to you, my little brother is finally home.
One family said the Israeli military bombarded close to where their son was held in the final days of the war. In Gaza, journalist Islam Ahmad was detained in Israel for about 10 months. He told NPR he was beaten and lost about 30% of his body weight. Other freed Palestinians showed signs of abuse and malnutrition. Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
NPR has obtained a memo in which Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth orders all personnel to watch his recent address to U.S. military leaders from around the globe. During the address, Hegseth lectured highly experienced senior military officials on the warrior ethos. News of the memo comes as Hegseth has attempted to impose a strict new policy on the Pentagon press corps. News outlets, including NPR, have rejected the policy. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their client's best interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. This is NPR.
You're listening to WUSF 89.7. I'm Craig Kopp. What started as a pro-Palestinian student protest at the University of South Florida has turned into a free speech battle that's headed to court. As WUSF's Emma Brisk reports, a student group says they were targeted for their activism.
Tampa-based Students for a Democratic Society is suing USF for violating their First Amendment and civil rights. Student organizer Victoria Hinckley says expelling her group following last year's protests violates the Florida Free Expression on Campus Act. It says students can't be discriminated against based on speech.
Especially on campus, that's a free expression zone. We wanted to exercise our rights. We wanted to choose where we could have the protests, and we wanted to reach students where they really were and not where USF admin was telling us to be.
USF officials say the actions against SDS followed university policy and were not based on what they said. Emma Brisk, WUSF 89.7 News.
Several airports across the U.S. say they will not play a video message from Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem on their facilities' TSA monitors. But this is not an issue at area airports. We'll explain. The message plays near security lines. It shows Noem blaming Democrats for the federal government shutdown. CNN reports that Las Vegas's Harry Reid International, Seattle Tacoma International, Charlotte Douglas International Airport, and 3 airports in New York are not showing the video. But officials at Tampa International, St. Pete Clearwater International, and Southwest Florida International in Fort Myers all say the TSA does not have any video screens at their airports, so it is not an issue for them. Sarasota Bradenton International Airport did not respond to a request for information about their TSA setup. Sunny skies today. Will have a high of 87 degrees. I'm Craig Kopp, WUSF 89.7 News.
WUSF wants to help you handle hurricane season. Our newsroom will provide you the latest on air and at WUSF.org. From bridges closing to post-storm damage reports, WUSF is here, ready to serve.
At Berkeley Preparatory School, a co-ed independent day school for students in pre-K through 12th grade, you'll discover a whole new level of training in the performing arts. Join them at their fall play, 12 Angry Jurors, October 23rd to 25th.
You're with Florida Matters, live and local. I'm Matthew Petty. We're broadcasting from the doctors Lorraine Rubis and Neil Frankel studio at WSF in Tampa. If you were looking to buy a house in the Tampa Bay region a couple of years ago, you had to move fast and be prepared to be outbid. But now homes are sitting on the market longer than a year ago, an average of 45 days now compared to 35 days back then. On top of that, home prices are dropping. Redfin says prices are down nearly 10% compared to last year, with in Tampa prices at least a median price of $405,000. Sellers, call in and let's talk. Buyers, what is holding you back? Kristen Washington is with me. She's a realtor who works mostly with first-time home buyers. Kristen, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Also joined by Joe Lukowitz. He's a realtor and has been selling real estate in Tampa since 1976. That's as long as I've been alive. Joe, thank you so much for joining us as well.
Thank you.
And if you're trying to sell your home, tell us about your experience. Are you thinking about pulling your property off the market until things heat up again? And if you're trying to buy a home, where are you looking? What are you looking for? We're at 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can email us too. We're at FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Joe, you've been in the real estate market for a long time. How would you describe the last 5 years as people flooded into Tampa Bay?
Well, the last 5 years has been crazy. Back in 2021, 22, probably the hottest market that I've ever seen. What I track is like how many active listings compared to how many are under contract. And it was not so back then. We were down to 1 month of inventory for anything under $500,000 or $600,000. Now I work mostly up in Northwest Hillsborough. and now we're running at about 5 to 6 months, 7 months of inventory, which is starting to get to be more of a buyer's market. 4 months to 5 months is considered balanced, and 6 to 7 months and above is off. And way back in 2009, remember, I've been doing this a long time, 2009, we were running at 12 months to 13 months of inventory.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, things have started to kind of cool off a bit, right? From early 2020 to March this year, we had area home prices climbing by 60%, but then a slump hit starting in summer. What happened?
Well, yeah, I would say it started in March. It was building up to that. There was so much inventory coming online. The interest rates staying at almost 6.9, got close, up to 7%. The prices, like you said, had gone up 60%. I mean, I'm looking at my numbers. Back in the same market area, the median price was $385, and back in the end of 24, well, the peak was back September of 24 was $565. I mean, that's a huge increase, and it gets really hard to afford between taxes, insurance, and interest payments. So, and with people are finally starting to move, no matter whether they've got a 3% interest rate now,
right?
But they really want to sell. They need to have a reason that they need to move, and they're willing to walk away from that.
Yeah.
So,
Kristen, we talked with you around this time last year about the challenge that first-time home buyers were facing to turn the key on a new home. What's changed since then?
So what has definitely changed, let's definitely talk about this. The availability of affordable housing has definitely changed. I don't think people realize that the new HUD guidelines has increased what they consider an affordable housing home to $450,000 and below. I think we all agree $450,000 is not affordable. Right. So now we have to find a way to offset some of those costs to help bridge the gap, to help them get into these houses. So what's changed is our access to funding to help individuals get into these houses with the down payment assistance funds.
So you're saying even though prices are dipping a bit, it's not really helping the folks that you're working with?
It's not helping. In a matter of fact, we've lost our ability to fund the extreme low to low average medium income of 30 to 50%. We no longer have funding to support them. So they will be and remain in a rental community. We are at 80% of the average medium income and above that we're actually able to allocate some of those funds to. We're talking about a difference of, we used to be able to give up to $175,000 stacked to help you purchase a home, to now we're struggling with that funding because we just don't know if it's guaranteed, if it's going to be there. It does replenish on a fiscal year, but some of this will be obsolete soon. So we'll be losing some of the CRA funding as of next year. It'll be obsolete. So we will lose some of that assistance to help people get into the houses.
Wow.
So this is a good time, if any, for anybody who is moderate income to purchase a home to use down payment assistance. It is a buyer's market, like Joe said, and so it does help them in that aspect.
We're talking with Kristen Washington. She's a realtor in the Tampa Bay region. Also, Joe Lukowitz, realtor as well. We're talking about the Tampa real estate market. Homes for sale are sitting on the market for a bit longer. Prices are dropping. We want to hear from you as well. If you're trying to sell your home, are you willing to wait until prices go up again? And if you're buying, how is that house hunt going? Give us a call. We're at 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can send an email to FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Kristen, are you telling folks when they are in the position to, put a down payment on a house, show up with a cash offer? Is it sort of that situation now, or is it a little less kind of intense?
No, it's a little less intensive as it was when, Joe was alluding to talk about what we were going through, where the houses weren't sitting in the market more than 5 days, right? We didn't have a chance in the affordable housing realm to compete against the people coming in from the tri-state area and California, coming in paying cash. We couldn't compete against that. Now, we do have some benefits. We do have some homes that are allocated specifically for first-time home buyers, so they don't have to compete against an investor or cash buyers. But there's enough inventory in the market right now that is going to a buyer's way that sellers are willing to provide assistance at closing, and they're coming down their pricing, making it more affordable for them. So it is a good time to purchase as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Joe, What are sellers doing when things aren't moving for you? Like, are you seeing people pull their homes off the market? Are they saying, let's maybe go put it on as a rental for a bit and see what happens? Like, what's the kind of vibe you're getting from some of your customers?
Well, some have talked about rentals. The price level that I work in mostly is like 400,000 to $1 million. So, putting a $700,000 house up for rent probably doesn't make economic sense. Now, I tell people that April, May, June, July are our best 4 months to sell a house, but some people still need to move and they have to be price realistic. And that's been the case for since 1976. And the problem being is sellers' memories are still of, well, my friends had 14 offers on their house a few years ago. Well, that's not true anymore. Now, what they will do is more sellers are selling, if not full price, they may get close to full price, but they're paying loan closing costs, which can amount from 3 to 6%. So in other words, you got a $700,000 house, you might be paying $20,000 to $40,000 for rate buy downs, loan closing costs, prepaid things to help a buyer get into the house. And that's happening quite a bit more.
One thing that we were hearing about, when things were really hot in the housing market, is buyers rather were saying, I'm going to forego the property inspection, or, I'm going to put in a bid over what other people are bidding, and I'm sort of going to waive some of those normal procedures that I'd go through as a buyer. Are you seeing people still kind of clinging to that a little bit, or what's happening there?
Everybody's doing a home inspection. And in the last 3 months, I've only had one house that had multiple offers on it. So, and when I talked about the 14, I mean, back in 2021, I had 2 houses with 14 offers on it. And I thought I was a good pricer, but it was just so crazy. So they have to be very realistic, and they're also worrying about both insurance and appraisals and getting their financing. The interest rate's coming down a little bit. I'm seeing a little bit of pickup in interest on everything, but I do think people selling have to be more cognizant of pricing it right. And then if it's not sold, don't stay at a high price. Get it down.
Yeah. Kristen, obviously last year was pretty rough for a lot of folks in the Tampa Bay region with the hurricanes, the brace of hurricanes we experienced. Are you seeing some vestigial impacts of those storms on people's willingness to buy and sell?
Absolutely. Some people are just running scared, right? Coastal areas, the insurance rates are sky high. So we're talking about a couple $1,000s sometimes or more on somebody who's a little closer. And flood zones have changed, so that map has changed. And the other thing is, we're talking about some of the existing homeowners. There's a lot of the inventory. There's a lot more new construction. So we are competing against new builders, larger builders who have huge incentives that we have to compete against. So there's a lot of that's taken in consideration by a new home buyer. Location, claims, insurance claims, the cost of insurance, the cost of the homes, and then looking at what the value could be in the future in comparison to what's going on around them with the new construction prices and incentives that are going on.
In the last few seconds we have here, what's your advice for folks who are looking to sell a home if it's not moving?
They need to be realistic. Joe made a very good point. Those days are gone for the 14 offers on the house. Be realistic about your pricing. Look and listen to your realtor when we do our market comparative analysis for you and we tell you what's selling. We have the ability to look and view and see what the price point is within the past 30, 45 days for the homes that are sold the most, and listen to your realtor. We know we have the expertise. You're trusting us with that. Be realistic about that pricing if you want your house to move, and be ready to pay for it to move.
And folks like you and Joe, of course, Joe's been in the area selling houses for a long time, so he knows what he's talking about. Joe Lukowitz, realtor who's been selling real estate in Tampa since 1976. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Kristen Washington, realtor working mostly with first-time home buyers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next on Florida Matters Live and Local, we turn to Tallahassee. Lawmakers returned to the state capitol last week to get the ball rolling on the 2026 legislative session. Hear more about that when Florida Matters Live and Local returns.
I'm Scott Tong. President Trump celebrated when late-night TV hosts who criticized him got taken off the air, but it's economics, not politics, that are really killing the format.
Even without Trump, this format would still be in trouble. You can't sustain a $100 million television show when the audience has moved on to their phones.
Next time, Here and Now.
Coming up at 1 after Florida Matters Live and Local.
Support for WUSF comes from listeners like you and from Seitenbacher with a new web shop. Healthy muesli, cold-pressed oils, and vegetable broth mix delivered to your door from right here in Tampa Bay. Details at Seitenbacher.com. Seitenbacher. Seitenbacher. AARP. Helping to build a Tampa Bay where people of all ages can live safely, comfortably, and independently. Learn more at aarp.org/FLLivable. That's aarp.org/FLLivable.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. Well, last week, Florida lawmakers returned to Tallahassee to prepare for the 2026 legislative session. Some big issues they could focus on include possibly eliminating the property tax, plans to address housing affordability, and medical malpractice. WUSF's Douglas Soul reports from Tallahassee for the Your Florida Project on how decisions made up there affect everybody in Florida. Douglas, thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure.
And if you've got a question about what lawmakers are talking about in Tallahassee in the lead up to the 2026 legislative session, call and tell us about it. The number is 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can send us an email, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Douglas, you just stepped out of a discussion about medical malpractice and specifically a bill which could lead to more medical malpractice lawsuits, right? So just tell us about what this bill was last year and what's happening with it now.
So I'm 26 years old. I know, I sound a lot older, but since last year, my parents lost their ability to file a medical malpractice lawsuit. Mm-hmm. I'm also unmarried and have no kids. So that means in this case, if a doctor messed up and it killed me, they couldn't be sued because of it. Now that I'm 26, I also couldn't sue if my parents died under similar conditions. Some critics of this call that free kill, and lawmakers are considering legislation to undo it.
Wait, hang on a minute. Free kill? Just unpack that a little bit for us, if you wouldn't mind.
No, yeah. So critics of the current restriction on related to this litigation, meaning that if I were to die in a hospital due to negligence of a doctor, my parents couldn't sue on my behalf. Some believe that shields negligence and thus creates this relatively dramatic critical moniker, free kill.
Okay. Yeah, it is definitely catching the air there. So, I mean, this bill was passed last year with bipartisan support, right? But it was then vetoed by the governor. Just kind of get into a little bit about why that happened, if you could.
No, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty contentious bill, which makes it pretty remarkable that it passed on a relatively bipartisan basis. But as mentioned, there's a belief in the legislature that this shields negligent medical behavior. It is unfair to grieving families. Florida is the only state with this restriction in place. Now, as you mentioned, Governor Ron DeSantis vetoed it. He said he worried it would benefit predatory attorneys and would increase litigation, which would then increase health care costs for Floridians.
Mm-hmm. What are you hearing from lawmakers this time around? I mean, is there something different about what the bill says, or is it being filed by somebody different, or are they just having another go at it?
You know, it seems like they're just having another go at it. The bill sponsor today, as House lawmakers were considering this new version of the bill, remarked that she was getting a sense of deja vu. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine that lawmakers are similarly interested this year as they were last year on passing this. Of course, the big question is it off or not if the governor is going to just veto it again?
Mm-hmm. I wonder, Douglas, I mean, for folks who aren't following this stuff in great detail like you, I mean, how do committee weeks work and how much of what lawmakers talk about actually ends up on the docket, as it were, come legislative session?
As I just mentioned, in some cases, lawmakers are considering bills that will come up and maybe roll through the coming legislative session. But that's not just what it is. You can consider these committee weeks, one of which I'm currently in, as are all the lawmakers, as warm-ups for the regular legislative session. That one's only going to begin in a few months in January.
Yeah.
Lawmakers from around the state fly or drive to the capital city. They get briefings, they, as is happening today, workshop bills, and they really start testing ideas. Now, not everything discussed in these weeks will make the distance, and a lot of things not discussed will. But these weeks are a great way to really test the winds, especially as you get closer to the official session.
We're talking with WUSF's Douglas Soul, who's up in Tallahassee, reporting on what lawmakers are talking about in the lead up to the session. Session, of course, starts a bit earlier next year. It starts in January, so it's committee week, and they're discussing some of what could end up for discussion and up for law, for debate, I should say, in January. Now, redistricting is a hot topic in Florida and a bunch of other states. What's on the table in Florida, and why is it so controversial?
We don't really know what's on the table. As you mentioned, a lot of states are talking about redistricting right now, about changing the U.S. congressional map in their state to benefit a certain political party. Of course, in the case of Florida, it would be Republicans. Governor Ron DeSantis has been loudly calling for redistricting, and the House even established a redistricting committee. I think some people were expecting some fast-paced action because of that. But in the couple of months since it was created, it's not met yet. The House isn't talking very loudly or much at all about it. The Senate isn't either. There may be conversations behind the scenes, but if so, they haven't given us a peek of the cards yet.
Yeah.
The election, though, really is around the corner. And if they're going to change the map, you'd expect to hear more about it somewhat soon. So we're in wait-and-see mode.
Yeah.
The conversations may get louder closer to session or during session.
Yeah, watch this space. One quick question, if we could. There's a story from last session back in the news involving an organization led by Florida First Lady Casey DeSantis. Leon County grand jury is now involved. Could you just remind us what the basics of the story are? What is Hope Florida? Why should Floridians be paying attention to this?
That's an important question because it's a very important political situation. It's kind of top of mind of many folks here in the Capitol. Hope Florida is an organization spearheaded by First Lady Casey DeSantis. It links people in need with nonprofit groups. It's been hit with financial impropriety allegation. And with the First Lady and others connected to the governor involved, this is obviously incredibly high profile, even more so now. A grand jury very recently convened to investigate whether criminal conduct happened from some involved in the charity. We don't have much information. A lot of it is happening, all of it's happening behind closed doors. But I think we're all in a very, very curious wait and see mode right here because there are political and legal implications as to what news we do get.
Yeah, just before we wrap up here, Douglas, you've been covering a story about a book bound, I should say. The book is called And Tango Makes Three. It's only 36 pages long, costs about $8 on Amazon. However, it's cost the Escambia County School Board about $300,000 to keep it off school library shelves. I mean, what is going on here? Just quickly, if you could.
Yeah, so And Tango Makes Three is a children's picture book. It follows two male penguins raising a chick together in a zoo. The school board of Escambia removed the book after someone objected to it for its LGBTQ plus themes. The authors believe that was unconstitutional, and they filed a federal lawsuit. There's a school district in Florida that, when it was sued similarly, they've just returned the books on the shelves. In Escambia, they decided they're going to fight it out, and they've spent $300,000+ on the subsequent litigation. And that's still, a judge actually recently ruled against the authors in this case, but they are appealing.
Right.
So there could be a lot more litigation costs to come.
And you'll be following at WUSF's Douglas Soul reporting from Tallahassee. Thank you so much for your insights. Appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me on.
Well, coming up next, perspective is everything, right? Astronauts say they look at the Earth in a whole new way after coming back from orbit. Deep sea divers say the same thing. We'll go deep with Joseph Deturi, who spent a record-breaking 100 days living in an underwater habitat off the Florida Keys. That's when Florida Matters, live and local, continues. Stay tuned.
On the next Fresh Air, we unpack the ceasefire agreement in Gaza with veteran State Department negotiator Aaron David Miller. He says the Gaza deal isn't a lasting peace agreement, but an important step made possible in part by President Trump's transactional approach to politics and diplomacy. Join us.
Fresh Air can now be heard weeknights, Monday through Thursday at 7 o'clock.
Learn how sea level rise will shape the future of biodiversity in Florida, one of America's richest ecological treasures. November 13th at USF Sarasota Manatee Selby Auditorium. Tickets at theclimateadaptationcenter.org. Sarasota Opera presents Mozart's Così fan tutte and the Sarasota Youth Opera performing Hans Krasse's Brundibar. These fall operas launch their main stage season October 31st through November 15th. Tickets at sarasotaopera.org.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. Well, from March to June 2023, Dr. Joseph Dituri, also goes by the nickname Dr. Deep Sea, lived completely underwater for those 3 months. It was part of his Neptune 100 project to study the effects of a sustained pressure on his body and his state of mind. Overall, testing how the body adapts and how much it can endure. The experiment took place down in Key Largo at Jules Undersea Lodge. It's the only underwater hotel in the world. Dituri is a retired U.S. Navy diver. He has a PhD in biomedical engineering, and he's a professor at the University of South Florida. And he joins us now to talk more about his time living under the sea. And if you've got a question for Dr. Deep Sea, you can call us. We're at 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. Joe, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
So first of all, do you kind of think about your time there and think, I wish I could go back?
Yeah, only because the mission was supposed to be 200 days, and I just couldn't afford to stay 200 days.
Oh, really?
200 days is the length of time it's going to take us to get from here to Mars.
Yeah.
So we need to start thinking about how we are in an isolated, confined, extreme environment as humans.
So you're kind of putting yourself in the mindset of a Mars astronaut.
Well, I'm not there yet. I got turned down from NASA, by the way. But, you never know. I would love that, and I think our extraplanetary endeavors are necessary.
Mm-hmm. How much does it cost to stay in this hotel? Is that what the holdback was?
Oh, I think, it's $1,000 a night. I mean,
wow.
This is a $100,000 endeavor just for the 100 days.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that came out of the International Bank of Joe, and then the Marine Resources Developmental Foundation kicked in as well. So, but that was it. There wasn't like, some huge benefactor, right?
Yeah. So while you were down there, like at a certain point where you're like, this is it, I can't handle it anymore, I've got to get out?
A bunch of those things went on. My daughter graduated from Caltech during that time. One of my 3 daughters graduated from Caltech. But other ones had like issues with boyfriends, and then there was, my personal life, and it was just like, wow, this is really hard. It's a lot. The mental toughness that you needed to get through that is going to be compelling. Mm-hmm. And when we go from here to Mars, it's going to be worse.
Now, I know there was some folks who would swim down and kind of visit you.
Oh, yeah.
Are your family divers as well? Like, could your kids kind of strap on a scuba suit and come and pay you a visit if they've got some issues?
My kids never came, but actually my mom learned how to scuba dive and came down to see me. So I could have visitors, and my mom and my brother did, which was compelling and wonderful. I mean, she energized a whole nother population of people to get diving certified that, slightly aged group. I don't want to say my mother's age because I'll get hit, but
What did she bring? Did she bring some baking, a pair of socks, perhaps?
No, but it's so interesting. We have these ingrained habits. Like you say, my mother's coming, I need to clean. I literally cleaned the habitat when my mother came. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. It's not a very big space, though, is it? Like, just describe it for folks who haven't seen it.
So it's maybe in total the size of the booth that we're in right now. So totally we're looking at about 17 feet long and about 6 feet in diameter, but not all of that was usable space, because the circle here kind of is hard to get to. So I had a sleeping quarters on one side, which was about 6 feet long, 7 feet long, and then the visiting scientist had another sleeping quarters, and then across we just had one 17-foot long tube that was about 6 feet wide.
So you were sharing that space for some of the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had visiting scientists come in and talk about preserving, protecting, rejuvenating the marine environment. You know, it was all to make sure that we are looking at this one resource we have here on this planet and taking care of it.
You can't go outside and take a walk or ride your bike or something, but you were out there swimming around from time to time.
You could go diving, and I did. I'm compelled to dive. It's one of the things I love in my life, so I got to go out and dive regularly and often. I did it every day that I could.
Mm-hmm. If you're just joining us on Florida Matters Live and Local, we're with Dr. Joseph Dituri, also known as Dr. Deep Sea, talking about his 100-day mission to live in an undersea habitat, which he completed back in 2023. I mean, did it feel kind of like confining, and like did it feel a bit like you were in a prison at any point, or were you sort of just so focused on the mission, like it doesn't matter, I'll stay here as long as I need to?
It got really small really quickly, and then I kind of adjusted. But
and you're not a small person.
Yeah.
You're quite. How tall are you? Like 6 foot or something?
I'm 6'1".
Yeah.
Well, you know you're 6'1" when you scrape your head on the top of the habitat, and that's actually one of the things that happened to me. I was interested to figure out what happens to the human. I actually shrank a little bit, just so much so that I stopped hitting my head.
What?
Yeah, so I shrank about 3/4 of an inch, just barely stopped scraping my head, and I was like, hey, that's weird. I don't hit my head anymore. It's the compression of the vertebra, the compression of the spine while you're in compression underwater.
Okay, so this is maybe a silly question, but if you were doing the voyage in space, like say you were traveling to Mars, would you shrink or would you stretch?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, astronauts are in tension, so they get taller when they're in space. Aquanauts or divers are in compression, so they get smaller. So yeah, while you're traveling to Mars, you will get taller.
Okay.
No, it's a great question.
What did you eat when you were down there?
So I'm a scientist and pretty boring, right? So I wake up in the morning and I'd have 4 eggs and some kind of meat and some kind of cheese. 2 cups of coffee to start with, because science doesn't happen without coffee. I'm sorry. And then lunchtime I would eat, a salad and then something, protein-wise. And then for dinner it would be some big protein and, like meat, cheese, whatever. And this was all delivered once every 3 days. They delivered food that I got to cook and prepare while I was underwater.
Were you fishing while you were diving?
No, I was in a marine sanctuary, which was really weird.
Yeah.
But I would have.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about exercise? Because, I mean, swimming is one thing, but you're not going to be able to get out and dive every day, I imagine. So
yeah,
how did you stay fit?
What we wound up doing was, what we needed to do is prove that you could maintain muscle in an isolated, confined, extreme environment, just like when you're on the space station or traveling to Mars. So I did these elastic bands they call blood flow restriction devices, and the elastic bands with them. And I was able to maintain muscle mass for the entire 100 days. So it's theoretically possible to do it in space, but atrophy happens when people are on the International Space Station. So we need to thwart that.
What did you miss most about spending? I mean, aside from your family, which obviously that was an issue, but what about dry land did you miss?
Unquestionably, I'm a creature of the sun. So, like, I will watch sunrises and sunsets, and I'll literally walk over, watch the sunrise, and walk over and watch the sunset. I did not get to do that. So I got about 350 pictures of the sun from kids all around the world that were sending me pictures. They're like, we heard you like the sun. We're going to send you pictures. I'm like, this is great. Like, a group of kids that's that courteous and nice to be able to give you something like that.
That's wild. I mean, were you expecting that kind of interaction from folks as you went on?
5,500 kids in 14 different countries we connected with. And for some reason, I was really big in China. I have no idea why. But, we did like 4 or 5 outreaches to China alone, right? And, we were in Russia. We were in, the United Kingdom. We were in Morocco. It was crazy. So,
since you've been back on dry land, which it's been a while now, but have you traveled to some of those places where they were following your exploits with real interest?
Absolutely. So I did the first briefing of the results from this, the scientific results from this, at the World Extreme Medicine Conference in Edinburgh. And what a large following I had there for whatever reason. And, sometimes I'll be on a plane and somebody will be like, hey, are you that underwater guy? I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's neat.
And okay, so aside from the fact that you shrank a little bit,
yeah,
what else did you notice? I drink coffee too. Like, how does caffeine affect you when you're under the water?
Generally speaking, drugs wear off a lot quicker underwater because your metabolism is increased. So that's one.
So did you have to jack up your coffee intake?
Yeah, no, I limited to 2 cups of coffee a day because more than that is just bad for me.
Sure.
So what I wound up doing was every single inflammatory marker in my body was cut in half. I doubled my deep and REM sleep, right? So we generally, as humans, we sleep between 30 and 33% in deep and REM. Well, I was able to sleep between 60 and 66% in deep and REM.
So that's the good sleep.
That's great sleep. And what happens during that time? You rejuvenate, you relearn, you recategorize, you heal. All of that during deep and REM, and I doubled it. Oh, yeah, I was on fire.
Wow.
So my processes were working quicker. I had a 9% increase in coherence, a 13% decrease in phase lag.
What do some of those things mean? What is like a phase lag?
Yeah, so phase lag is how long it takes for your brain connections to go to where you tell them to go. Like if I say move my finger, it usually takes about 300 milliseconds, but I was speeding that up.
Wow.
Which was crazy. And the coherence is how well you think, basically, how well you can formulate things.
So if you're a competitive athlete and you spent like a month or 2 underwater and then you came back to the surface, your reflexes would be better? Like say you're a fencer or something, I don't know.
Better, faster. Yeah, you'd be thinking faster. I mean, this is proven in science. And these are the known mechanisms of action of hyperbaric medicine. Hyper means more than, baric means pressure. So basically, I was in an increased pressure environment. We know the mechanism of action. We use hyperbaric medicine up here all the time. So
yeah. Okay, what about entertainment, though? Because, I mean, it's kind of, I'm sure it gets a bit monotonous. You've described the space, not very exciting to look at. You're doing all this cool science, but did you have to do other things to keep your brain active?
Yeah, no. I mean, I wound up doing between 8 and 10 hours of science a day and then a couple hours of interviews. And then, I taught at University of South Florida while I was here, while I was down there remotely. So that was great. So I was pretty well occupied, but boring. What I wound up doing was taking that deep, dark look inside, which is a little bit tough, right?
Yeah.
And mostly by yourself. There were people that did visit, but you got to take that big, long look inside and go, what are you doing this for? Is this about fame? Is this about fortune? And, so you question everything that you're doing. It was a good look.
What was the answer?
Oh, boy, it's scary.
Yeah.
But, what I was doing this for was for a mission to let the world know about the mechanism of action of hyperbaric medicine and to get them on board with thinking about what we're going to do when we travel to the Red Planet. I mean, everybody wants to go. Everybody's like, we're going. And I'm like, I have lots of questions. How are we going to get through this?
Yeah, plus you've got to think about radiation and other challenges. It's not just about spending a long time in a small space.
So one of my hypotheses that I formed while I was down there was that we need to, when we travel to Mars, be in a hyperbaric environment. So we will be protected from ionizing radiation, as hyperbaric oxygen is known to protect you from ionizing radiation, protect your sleep, protect you from all the things that are going wrong. You can fill you with stem cells so that when we get to the Red Planet, we're fit, we're strong, we're able to conquer whatever it is that we have to when we're there. So I'm giving a paper on that at the Astrological Association in December.
It's interesting to me that you said you were turned down from NASA, but it sounds like you still harbor some desire to be an astronaut. Is that something you're thinking
absolutely.
about?
Yeah, absolutely. And, so NASA turned me down this year. We'll see how it goes next year. I'll keep applying. And I'm 57. I'll be 58 this year. So it's not like I'm a spring chicken, but
I mean, there's been some astronauts, like I'm thinking of folks who went up there fairly late in life.
Yeah, I mean, John Glenn is my personal hero, and he went up when he was older.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's hope.
Are you do you have other undersea missions planned?
None planned at this moment, but we are trying to work with Dubai and United Arab Emirates to build an underwater habitat because it's all about protecting, preserving, and rejuvenating the marine environment. And, the sea over there is not doing so well. So we need to start taking care of this. So if we can get this out to the population, maybe they can have an underwater habitat as well. And,
The Jules underwater habitat that you stayed in too, I imagine that's kind of gotten a little more publicity since your stay there. So is it quite hard to get a book a room there now?
Yeah, it's less. What we've done is we've taken that because they now put me on the board of directors for that nonprofit corporation, and what we're doing is we're making it more sciencey. We're bringing NASA in, we're bringing them in there to do those analog stays, the analog studies, and that's really what I wanted. What I wanted it to be was a habitat for research, and it's become more of that. So less of a hotel, more of a habitat now. So science, baby.
All right, that's a good place to wrap things up there. Dr. Joseph Tuturi is a retired U.S. Navy commander. He's a biomedical researcher and a professor at the University of South Florida. Thank you so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, coming up next, another story about survival and achievement, no matter how long it takes. St. Petersburg native Eddie Horn graduated from high school more than 50 years after his schooling was derailed by a stint in the notorious Dozier Reform School. He never lost sight of his dream of a high school diploma. You'll hear how he made that dream a reality in just a moment. That's when Florida Matters Live and Local continues. Stay with us.
I'm Scott Tong. President Trump celebrated when late-night TV hosts who criticized him got taken off the air, but it's economics, not politics, that are really killing the format.
Even without Trump, this format would still be in trouble. You can't sustain a $100 million television show when the audience has moved on to their phones.
Next time, Here and Now.
Beginning at 1 on WUSF.
You tune in to WUSF for all your favorite NPR shows. And for a list of when you can hear them, visit WUSF.org. While you're there, browse local features and special reports from the WUSF newsroom that take a deep dive into the issues that affect you, your family, and your neighbors here in the greater Tampa Bay region. WUSF is your spot for local, on air and online.
British blues rock star Joanne Shaw Taylor returns to the Billheimer Capitol Theater Saturday, October 18th. For a great live show full of the blues, don't miss Joanne Shaw Taylor October 18th. Visit RuthEckertHall.com for tickets. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and BayCare reminds you to take control of your breast health and schedule your annual screening mammogram. Discover BayCare's commitment to offering an exceptional mammogram experience and schedule online at baycare.org/breasthealth.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. When Eddie Horn walked across the stage at St. Petersburg High School this summer to get his diploma, it was more than 50 years after he was sent to the infamous Dozier School for Boys in the Florida Panhandle. The reform school closed in 2011 after former students recounted decades of abuse, beating, sexual assault, deaths, and disappearances. Horn spent just under a year at Dozier, but the experience derailed his schooling. Still, he had a dream to finish high school. When I talked to him by phone at his home in St. Petersburg, he said he's going to put his high school education to work, even at his age. Thank you so much for being with us, Eddie.
Quite welcome.
Well, first of all, congratulations on getting your high school diploma. How did it feel to walk across the stage at St. Petersburg High School and receive that diploma?
Feels good.
So there's been a spotlight on the Dozier School in recent years. It was closed in 2011 after people who'd been there as boys came forward with stories of beatings and abuse they suffered, and researchers had been working to identify the remains of people buried in unmarked graves at the school. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about why you were sent to Dozier and how long you were there.
Well, I was a bad boy. I was doing things I wasn't doing the little stealing and stuff, you know. I went there in October of 64. I got back home September the 28th of 65. And it was no fun. It was bad, yeah. I didn't like it, really. What can you do, y'all? I was sentenced by Judge Graham. So I asked him, I said, well, Judge, can I go and work and pay for it? No, he said, we going to boys' school with my father and my other two brothers.
What was it like when you got there first? Like, did you have a sense of how bad it was going to get?
Oh yeah, yes I did. Yeah, I heard boys talking about it before I even went there and stuff. Back in the early '60s and stuff, around '62 and '61. I heard other boys talking about it as we was going. As soon as we got there, the first thing the guy hollered, "No talking. So y'all sit down. I don't want to hear y'all from even talk."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was bad. I think it was bad. It was bad. It really was.
Did you keep in touch with the other boys that you were at Dozier with over the years?
No, not really. I had a couple of boys from my hometown was there.
Mm-hmm.
I just kept in touch with one of my. As soon as I got there, there was two of them in the same college I was in. I didn't see them that long. They stayed. They transferred to another college, run away, or got beat up, or got killed. I don't know. I ain't seen them then, because they didn't never give you information about nothing. You never known it.
Mm-hmm. And what did you do after you were let out of the school?
Well, I went home and I started working down the Morrison Cafeteria downtown Sarasota. Started working in the kitchen. I was working after school. I was getting my mama like $10 a week, she said, and she got me the job and we walked down there. So I went on and went on. I started being a waiter and a cook and stuff, and then I got married, and then I got kids and stuff.
And what about your schooling? Because at a certain point, after you'd come back from Dozier, you dropped out of school, right? You weren't able to complete your high school diploma back then.
Right. Once I got out of Dozier, I went to ninth grade. And then I quit. I was working part-time. Then when I met my wife, your first love and stuff. Then I got married and stuff. We was coaching for a while. Then I moved here to St. Pete. Then they was back in Bradenton for a while. Then they moved over here. Then I got a house. Then I started going to night school at Gibbs High School.
Mm-hmm. When was that?
That was in 1970 to 69, somewhere along up in there. Then I went to Mirror Lake Thomason Adult Center at Mirror Lake High School to start my diploma. Then I quit, and I just started working for a while and stuff. I didn't think about it no more until about last year. And this boy, I said, well, Billy, I want to go get my GED. Where can I go to school at? He said, go try the Urban League at 31st and stuff. And they'll start you in your GED. And I've been in it ever since. And then the state of Florida recommended that I get my high school diploma. Mm-hmm. And I'm still in school because I've been out a lot. So I'm keeping my mind refreshed and stuff in school. So I went to school yesterday. So I'm a student at the University of South Florida. I'll be taking up criminal justice and behavioral science.
So it's been quite a journey then getting this GED. It's taken you some time, but it's...
Oh my God, cost close to 30-some years, man. I mean, it's been a while.
It sounds like you really were set on that, and life kind of, as it sometimes does, kind of sent you on some different paths from time to time, but you were able to come back to it each time and finally get that degree.
Yes, correct. Yeah. It was a lot of obstacles in my course and stuff. In my life and stuff, and I wasn't thinking about it, but I finally got it. Then I got hired to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department now. Get ready to be starting there soon. I got to get my driving license straight and stuff, and that's what they want me to do.
Yeah, so talk more about that, because this is something that you'd spoken to reporters about after you walked across the stage in that graduation ceremony. You said you want to work for the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, so what do you want to do for them?
It's a criminal justice specialist. Mm-hmm. So I talked to the teacher. I already talked to him and stuff. My application already in. I think I got to just at the time when I filled out the application, I didn't have my license, but I'm going to get my license and stuff. I got all the paperwork, and I done did the license. I got to go to DMV and get them now. I'll be working like in the courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
So no patrol, just the courthouse. I'll be working in the courthouse.
Mm-hmm. And why is it that you want to do this at this stage of your life? Like, is this something you've wanted to do for a long time?
Yes, ever since I was about, before I went to Dozier Boys School, when they first started the Job Corps, I was interviewed for LAPD. Then, when I went to school, I was going back to school in Sarasota when I was in ninth grade. I always wanted to be in law enforcement. I have family in law enforcement. My brother was a cop up in New York. I had another cousin was a detective for Longboat Key in Sarasota. And I got two nephews on the Sheriff's Department in Manatee County now. My first time when I got out, I went to Sheriff Ross Boyer. He was the sheriff in Sarasota during that time. Mm-hmm. He said, Eddie, and this is what he told me. I went upstairs. This was during 1967. Mm-hmm. He said, Eddie, as soon as you finish school, you come to me. And me and my second command, and you can start the sheriff's department. I'm going to give you a card to fill out. All you had to do is go to the obstacle course. He said, once you start, I'm going to give you $200 to go to Manatee Junior College to take up criminology. And that's the truth. That was Chef Boyer. But after I met my wife, I didn't think about it then and stuff. Because I was in love. I was going out. I was making a little money and partying and stuff.
Yeah.
And I decided to do it. Yeah, in 1973, I filled out the application for the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. And a week later, they sent me a letter and say I was eligible to work with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. But I was married then, so I didn't think about it no more after that.
So it sounds like you've always had this interest in law enforcement. I wonder, though, I mean, did your experience on the wrong side of the law and being incarcerated at the Dozier School for Boys, that didn't put you off at all?
No, not really, because years passed, but I didn't think about that boys' school too much. I didn't until I saw that little article in the paper about the White House, and then that's when I got started.
What do you think your life would have been like had you not been sent to Dozier?
You know what? That's a big question. That's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I really don't know. I was trying to get out of school, get with the sheriff's department back then. But after I met my wife, everything I don't know. I didn't think about a lot of things. Just going out partying, making money, and have a good time dressing and buying cars and driving and stuff. And that was it. I don't know I don't know what my life would have been. Maybe law enforcement. I don't know.
But you've got a chance now to kind of live up to some of those dreams that you had as a young man.
Yes, sir. That's right. Correct. You got it right. You hit it right on the head. And it came through, too. I'm so glad to be at the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. I'm so happy. I got guys in my church been helping me. They've been giving me a recommendation. They've been calling the Sheriff's Department. I got two brothers in the church retired from Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. And then I got another brother works for St. Petersburg Police Department, Brother Thomas McQueen, and he's doing a great job helping me out. And the lady at HR at the Sheriff's Department, she is helping me out, and everybody at the Sheriff's Department is really standing by me and giving me a good support.
I wanted to ask, too, about some of the other things that the state of Florida has been doing to compensate the survivors of the Dozier School. I think there was some 926 survivors who have been receiving checks for more than $21,000 as part of that compensation. And this is a multi-million-dollar compensation program. Were you one of the 926 people that were approved for that?
Yes, sir.
Do you think the state is doing enough to compensate people who suffered at that school?
It should have did a little more. No, should be some more. It should be more. The boys went through a lot. A lot of them suffered, man. A lot of them suffered, got beat up and got killed. Come on. The Sanders should have gave us a little more than that. No. I mean, we deserve a little lot. We went through a lot. Going to school one day, working one day. You went to school, all you do was just sitting down and just looking at it in a book. They didn't teach you nothing. They didn't teach you nothing. So I believe we deserve a little more. I do. And I think we're going to fight that bill again to get a little more.
So what do you think the next kind of weeks and months and years look like for you, Eddie?
Well, I don't know. It's up to God and stuff. I got to keep praying and keep on pushing, never stop. There going to be better days coming. I know it, and I feel it deep down in my heart.
Well, Eddie Horn, thank you so much for sharing some of your story with us. Appreciate it.
You're quite welcome, brother, anytime.
Well, that's our show for today. Tomorrow on Florida Matters Live and Local, hear about a local program that allows charter schools to coexist inside low-performing schools and why some school leaders are sounding the alarm. And do you worry about your child's school being taken over by a charter school? Call into the show tomorrow to share your thoughts. We're at 813-755-6562. You can email us at FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Florida Matters executive producer is Grayson Doctor. Our producer is Amelie Horace. Our intern is Lily Belcher. Our engineers are Gio Galvin and Jackson Harp. Jackson composed our theme. Malika Hollis handled the video. Subscribe to Florida Matters wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch on WSF's YouTube channel. I'm Matthew Petty. Thanks for listening and watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Next time on The World, a charter flight for dogs. It's attracting lots of pet owners.
People are so got a deeper relationship, I think, with their pets than ever before.
With thousands of Americans relocating overseas, demand has grown for flights that cater to their pets. Kibble and wet food without the tray tables, next time on The World.
It's at 3 o'clock. This is WUSF 89.7 Tampa.
The Be Well lecture series will inspire with proactive wellness choices and innovative treatments to live longer and better. With longevity expert Derek De Silva, MD, the next lecture is November 4th. Registration at friendshipcenters.org. Theater Odyssey presents its one-act play festival with a performance of 5 short plays selected from 100 nationwide finalists at the Jane B. Cook Theater at FSU Center, October 18th through the 19th. Tickets at theaterodyssey.org.
Funding for Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software, accelerating the pace of engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com.
From NPR and WBOR Boston, I'm Scott Tong.
I'm Robin Young. It's Here and Now. Coming up, a case before the Supreme Court could gut the landmark 1965 Voting Rights Act.
Also, a look at how Hamas was convinced or pressured to sign on to the Gaza ceasefire. Pressure notably from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey.
What the Trump administration did in this case was brought in all 3 of those countries.
And the band The Cars was huge. They won the first MTV Best Video Award. Rick Ocasek wrote many songs, Ben Orr sang many, but a new book dives deep into the whole band.
It was 5 people. It wasn't just Rick. It wasn't just Ben. It was these great 5 members that really made the sound of The Cars.
The news is first.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. A federal judge in San Francisco will consider whether to pause the Trump administration's mass layoffs of federal workers during the government shutdown. NPR's Andrea Hsu reports today's hearing comes as the administration says layoff notices so far have gone out to some 4,000 people, with more to come.
Unions representing federal employees have asked the court to halt the layoffs already underway and to stop federal agencies from issuing new layoff notices. They argue that the Trump administration has overstepped its authority in telling agencies to carry out the reductions in force or RIFs amid the shutdown. The Trump administration argues the court lacks jurisdiction to hear the case, and that such matters ought to be taken to the federal agencies set up by Congress to hear challenges to RIFs. Meanwhile, President Trump continues to blame Democrats for the shutdown and says it's an opportunity for him to end, quote, Democrat programs, those he never wanted and will probably never allow back. Andrea Hsu, NPR News.
The United Nations Development Program says reconstructing Gaza after the war could take more than a decade and $70 billion. NPR's Anas Baba reports from Gaza City, crews are beginning an initial cleanup of debris.
10 bulldozers have begun clearing rubble from key roads to allow residents to return and move freely. Gaza City Mayor Yahya al-Sarraj announced the start of a major cleanup and recovery effort, financed by Qatar. He said the municipality has a clear 3-phase plan. The first will take 6 months, the second up to 3 years, and the third, which is full reconstruction, may take a decade. Damage is estimated to over $2 billion in Gaza City alone. But the challenges are enormous. Most heavy machinery in Gaza is destroyed. Cement and spare parts are urgently needed, and vast amounts of debris still block the streets. For now, he says just opening a few main roads will take 2 weeks. Anas Baba, NPR News, Gaza City.
The fate of a key provision of the 1965 Voting Rights Act now rests with the U.S. Supreme Court. The justices heard arguments today in a Louisiana case over whether states should draw electoral districts that favor minority voters. Big banks are earning some big profits. NPR's Scott Horsley with details.
Bank of America and Morgan Stanley both reported better than expected quarterly profits, fueled in part by robust deal-making fees. B of A helped 2 big railroads couple up this summer, while Morgan Stanley helped brew the coffee merger combining Keurig Dr. Pepper and Peet's. The solid results echo the profit reports from other big banks earlier this week. And this was the day we were supposed to get an inflation report for September. That report's been pushed back until next Friday, though, as a result of the government shutdown. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
This is NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance with Snapshot, which monitors safe driving habits to determine a personalized rate at progressive.com. Not available in California or from all agents. This is NPR.
You're listening to WUSF 89.7. I'm Craig Kopp. A Florida school board is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to ban books. Escambia County has been hit with a pair of lawsuits for its book removal practices. Book access advocate Stefana Farrell says that the money could have gone elsewhere.
They're spending close to $1 million on fighting for their right to just remove whatever they want to.
One of the books is And Tango Makes Three, a children's picture book about two male penguins. Instead of returning that book and others to libraries like Nassau County did when it was sued, Escambia spent nearly $1 million in legal fees. Volusia and Orange County school districts have spent tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees defending book bans. Florida public school teachers would have to take an oath to the nation and the state under a proposal filed this week. Miami Lakes Republican Representative Tom Fabrizio is behind this proposal, which might be considered for the upcoming session. He says the oath would be similar to ones taken by lawyers, doctors, and public officials. Among portions of the 118-word oath are that they will, quote, faithfully perform the duties of a class